The cornstalks rose above our heads. The breeze made them lean over us as if trying to close us in. I let out a gasp as I heard a rustling sound along the ground. Footsteps? Mark and I both froze and listened.
Those are some pretty good scary sounds.
They were. We are here for, consultation for TV show adaptations and also spooky noises.
That's right. Well, greetings.
Hello.
Fellow book enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Welcome to the We Read Books podcast. This is a show where we read books and then talk to each other about them, and hopefully you enjoy yourself while you listen.
Yeah. That's what we want.
And if not, well, sorry. I don't know how to help you.
Maybe listen more and maybe you'll get more used to it, or,
maybe we're like some of the best books. You just have to get through the first couple of chapters and then you're hooked.
Right.
Like every book ever. Just get to know us.
Right.
That's all we're asking.
Yeah. We're quite delightful.
I think so. That's Whit.
And that's Mad.
We're your hosts from now and in perpetuity.
For as long as you listen.
Yep, that means forever.
Hopefully you're listening that long.
That would be really sick of you. Can you imagine just because there are some radio shows that go on for 20 years, 30 years with the same hosts. I mean, Howard Stern has been hosting.
Rocking along.
Longer than either of us have been alive.
Yeah. We could be gray-haired still doing this one day.
Yeah. At least a version.
We're not really recording. We're just doing it into cardboard boxes that we've set up on our table.
Yeah. Like that episode of New Girl when Nick meets, future Nick.
Yes.
And he gets into his little cardboard thing and he's like,
yep.
Boop, beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, boop.
It could be one of those situations.
Oh, no.
But we'll be so blissfully ignorant we won't care.
Yeah. To everyone else, it's extremely grim. But to us, it's fun.
Oh, gosh. Well,
wow, that took a turn.
Took a turn. If that interests you, you can follow us on our social channels. Instagram and TikTok are at We Read Books Pod, and our email is wereadbookspod23@gmail.com.
Ew. Yep, that's how you can contact us.
We made it easy for you.
It's really straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I think before we talk about our book today, I may or may not have a snippet of news.
News, let's hear it.
This is more like a newslet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
a baby news nugget.
I like baby news nugget.
This is a baby news nugget. I was listening to a podcast. So there's an Instagram account that I follow called alllll Godkiller. And she posts all just Sarah J. Maas universe stuff. Mm-hmm. I think she reposts a lot of fan art and stuff. And a lot of the fan art is lovely, obviously. Well, she and her sister went on a podcast. I'm going to have to look it up because I'll feel like a real dick if I don't say it.
Give them their
proper accolades.
Yeah.
Home. Recently played. Okay, so the podcast is called You're Gonna Be Great.
Oh, nice.
So the episode was released today, actually. And it's really talking about the relationships in the Sarah J. Maas universe.
Today being October
4th. So I listened to the episode and they kind of talked about how the rumored, semi-confirmed ACOTAR show may have been axed.
Oh.
Not confirmed that this is true, but apparently, so Sarah had a contract with Hulu, and last that I heard through the TikTok verse was that there was like a writer and they were going through like scripting, like season 1, hadn't started casting or anything, but there was like, they were contracts with Hulu signed, there's a writer, maybe showrunner, like there was actual like shit in the works.
Yeah.
But apparently Sarah on her personal Instagram like deleted some of the posts she made about the show, and there hasn't been any like updates, so potentially the show has been shelved.
Oh man.
So for everyone out there who is waiting with bated breath for the ACOTAR adaptation, may have to wait longer than they anticipated. Maybe
they just couldn't come to a equal decision about how to represent it on screen.
That's, you know, if that would be the case, I would say kudos to Sarah for not compromising.
Yeah, not settling.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think we talked about this in a previous episode, and I said she needs to take, if she wants her books adapted, which by popular demand they would be successful.
Oh, yeah.
She needs to go to HBO or Showtime.
Yeah.
These are not Hulu level storylines. This is HBO Showtime shit.
Yeah, I mean, well, not only the saucy aspects, but just simply the fantasy aspects.
Yes.
I just don't feel like Hulu maybe has the budget or the resources for such a world. I could be wrong. I can't think of a big fantasy juggernaut that they have done.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Maybe I'm just totally forgetting something, but
yeah,
it's not something that I would peg them for.
Right. I think Amazon potentially could pull it off because they have Wheel of Time and Rings of Power, which I still have not watched. I'm a little bit in denial. But I know it's gorgeously filmed.
It is gorgeously filmed, and there are storylines in it that I really enjoy. And then in retrospect, there were some that, not that I didn't enjoy, were just not as pleasant to watch. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
It was fine, but yeah, I the whole time I was trying to reconcile how the Galadriel I know from Lord of the Rings was the Galadriel in the Rings of Power show. I don't know. She just had a totally different vibe.
Yeah.
Both strong women, just in different...
Didn't seem like the same person.
Yeah.
Right. I get that. Yeah, I absolutely think that it might be for all of the like ACOTAR girlies out there, it might be a blessing in disguise if the Hulu version has fallen through and Sarah has the opportunity to continue to shop that around, because I think another network would be way more successful. So, especially because it's a high fantasy world and cinematography is going to be really important. Casting is going to be heavily scrutinized.
Yeah.
But a lot of people who love these books are coming for the sex scenes. Oh, that was a bad choice of words. They're here for the sex scenes.
Yeah.
That's at least 50% of it. Like,
You're very likely true. I would be coming for the other half, but yes, I mean, that is a huge part of the book series, which intensifies as the book go on.
Exactly.
So,
because you have so many book truckers out here that now part of their book reviews because there's a very specific side of Book Talk that is there for, that they're only doing spicy books. And so when they're reviewing a book, they do a disclaimer. Like, this book is good, but there is very little spice.
Right.
Because some people just aren't interested in reading it if there aren't intimate scenes, which to each their own.
Right.
That's not my gig. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not.
Right.
But people will be guaranteed disappointed if they get to like chapter 55 in the second book and it's not where it's supposed to be.
Right.
It doesn't hit.
But also, this is not pornography.
Right.
So,
I know.
There is a limit.
I don't know how they're going to balance that, because I do think that there is a subsect of the fandom that would be very disappointed if they don't see 3 full frontal male nudities at least once.
You're probably right.
There will be at least a small riot in the streets if they don't see a Reese, Cassian, and Az dick on the screen. For sure. Now, how are we going to... I just don't know how receptive other viewers are of full frontal male nudity on TV. I don't know how you play that, because I only know one show that's a TV show and not a film where you actually see male genitalia, and it's Shameless. That's a Showtime. But it's only one episode. It's very brief, and it's not like in a sex scene moment either. Right. He's like asleep. So it's not sexy. It's just there. I think it's for like comedic purposes, because that character's kind of goofy. And I think that it's just like a whoop. Yeah. There it is. Yeah. It's not meant to be like a sexy moment. So I don't know how that's going to play on screen, to be honest. So, ladies, you might not get any bat boy penis on the screen. I just don't know how it's going to fly.
I'm probably the 1% of the population that like just wants to see the story and doesn't care too much about the spicy bit.
I'm kind of in the middle. Like, I actually didn't know. I read them before.
Yeah, I don't think I went into it even knowing that it was there.
Yeah.
And then by then
you were already
in the story, and I was like, well, I gotta know what happened. So here we go.
I know. It's so strange. Like, because I had read all of Throne of Glass before I read any of ACOTAR, and there's not very many sex
I was going to say a handful at most over the entire series.
And they're not even in the first 5
Several,
books. So, you know, by that time, you've had such a build-up. You've had such a, like, that slow burn situation that when it happens, it feels like a lot more satisfying. In ACOTAR, it's kind of like, hey.
Yeah. I feel like, I thought maybe there was only one scene in the first book, but then after that, like, all bets were off. But I can't remember now. It's been so long.
Yeah, I think there's only one sex scene in the first ACOTAR. And then the second one has more, but not, like, it's not crazy. And then the third one on is just, like... And the last 50-50. The last one, it's like every other page. Right. And it's like increasingly graphic. Yeah. It didn't bother me still.
I just warn people that Nesta is nasty. And I don't mean like in a judgy, gross way. I just, you know.
She's a freak.
More in like she's a naughty girl. Kind of like, whoa.
That's true. Yeah.
Whoa, Nesta. And I didn't expect that from you.
Yeah. She's a lot more like freaky than... Like, Farrah's are still, like, a little on the sweet side. But Nesta, she a freak. But the problem is, when I read Silver Flames, I listened to it at work. And I was just like...
Oh, boy.
Okay. First of all, what am I going to do all day if I'm not listening to this? But also, what if my headphones die and my... Audible doesn't pause like it's supposed to, and then it's just like mid-sex scene, just full coital.
Yeah, that's the deepest fear of any audiobook reader that is reading these books is the battery on my headphones better be full.
we gotta have full charge here, because this can't be no. Right. Because if you're listening to like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, it's just like whatever, like no one cares. But if your shit starts to blare out in the middle of the office and it's like basically audio porn, you need to raise some brows.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
So anyway, that was the news corner. So after the news corner, we are talking about a childhood classic today.
Indeed.
This is part of our more on theme spooky season.
Yes.
Because it is now October.
Mm-hmm.
It was 91 degrees the other day, so that's really annoying.
Not setting the scene at all.
Mm-mm. If I have to wear shorts in October, we have a problem.
Right.
Like, severe problem. But it is supposed to be 60 degrees on Friday, so...
I'm thankful.
Yeah. Thank you, Lord Jesus.
Very thankful.
I'm about to riot.
Yeah. At least it suits the book, because the book is set in summer.
It is set in summer.
So.
We are doing a Goosebumps book called The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. I keep wanting to say The Scarecrow Walks at Night.
Yes.
Midnight.
But also, spoiler alert, they are not reserved for just walking at midnight. They walk.
True. That's true. All night.
At all times.
During the day.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Scarecrow walks.
Yeah, the Scarecrow walks.
Basically.
But I think at midnight sounds spookier.
It does sound spookier. But what's funny about the Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, it sounds like a code phrase.
Yeah, it does sound like a secret code that you use to get into a secret door.
It does.
I agree.
Like, that's all I could think about at first. I'm like, the Scarecrow walks at night. Hey, the Scarecrow walks at midnight. Now let me in.
And the black cat prowls at 1. You know, like, well.
Yeah, like you're saying it and there's going to be a response.
Yeah. But yeah, so is this our first quote-unquote children's book, other than the Harry Potter books?
Yes.
Okay. I kind of forget that those are, again, children's books.
I kind of separate, because I think The Hobbit is technically a children's book,
right.
too. But, like, the Harry Potter fandom, they're our age.
Right.
And Lord of the Rings fandom spans all ages, basically.
And the Harry Potter books, like, the books matured with the reader.
Yes.
Whereas I feel like Goosebumps books are made for a specific demographic, which is perfectly fine and great.
Yeah.
Just different.
Just different, yeah.
If you don't know, the Goosebumps books were written by R.L. Stine, and this particular one was published in May 1994.
Dang.
I should have looked up how many Goosebumps books. I should have looked up how many Goosebumps books there are. Because there's not only just the main run, but then he did other ones as well. Not just Fear Street, but there are so many different kind of groupings. And then I was surprised to find that he also did like silly books and, you know, other stuff like that. So.
This says the original Goosebumps books from 92 to 97, there were 62 of them.
Nice.
Dang, that's so many.
Yeah. Caleb's going to be so ashamed of me that I didn't just know that off the top of my head, because we have been collecting them and we have a little checklist and we're only missing, I don't know, I think maybe 10 at this point.
Yeah.
So we've gotten a lot of them, but I couldn't remember what number that list went up to. And like I said, we've gotten some of the outlier ones as well that are like, you know, again, he's going to be so ashamed I can't remember their title, but there's other groupings of other little spooky stories that he's done besides just the Fear Street series, which they turned into a show on Netflix.
Really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Is it like age appropriate, like for kids, or is it for adults?
I would say that one's more young adult or teen and older. Not for children, but not like so mature that you have to be a certain age to watch it.
NC-17?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it was fine. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. Yeah. There was like a couple of the episodes that I liked more than the others.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So, obviously, R.L. Stine has written quite a bit. He apparently wrote under a pen name, Jovial Bob Stine, which is funny. Jovial Bob.
That's why I threw that in there. I was like, that's hilarious. I didn't even know that he wrote humor books.
Yeah. So he wrote dozens of joke books and humor books for kids. Some of them were called How to Be Funny, 101 Silly Monster Jokes, and Bozos on Patrol, which is funny.
I was going to say, does that sound scary to you, do clowns?
No, clowns
okay.
don't bother me. He also created a magazine called Bananas. He worked on it for 10 years. And his first teen horror novel was called Blind Date, and it was published in 1986. And I think this was his first one under the name R.L. Stine.
Yeah.
His other works are Beach House, Hit and Run, The Babysitter, The Girlfriend, the 62 Goosebumps books, Fear Street, and an adult novel called Superstitious.
Which is kind of interesting that we mentioned that during this book review.
We do.
Because superstition plays its part.
It really does.
A little bit anyway.
Yeah.
But let's get into the book. Here's the short plot summary. It is focused on Jody and her brother Mark as they go to their grandparents' farm for the summer. Although it's not the most exciting place to go, they always have a great time. However, this year things feel different and they feel a bit off. And one night, Jody thinks she sees the scarecrows in the field begin to move.
Intrigue.
That would be alarming for any age.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So we'll go through our characters real quick. There aren't very many.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Jody. She's our protag, and she's 12 years old and has really bad allergies and long blonde hair. And then we have Mark, her younger brother. He's 11, and his favorite words are cool, weird, and gross. He's a bit lazy.
Yeah.
Actually, he reminded me a lot of my younger brother.
Really?
When we were younger.
I was going to say Mark seems like the stereotypical 11-year-old boy.
Yes, definitely. Now we have Grandma Miriam. She is the kid's grandmother, and she makes amazing pancakes for breakfast. They're chocolate chip pancakes.
Mm-hmm. That's her, claimed fame.
It's, her
At least with the kids.
Yeah. That they're, pumped for the pancakes.
Oh, yeah.
She's, short, chubby, round face, curly red hair, wears square glasses. She's giving very Molly Weasley here.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think about it at the time, but yeah. You're so right.
And then we have Grandpa Kurt. He tells really great, scary stories. He's tall, broad-shouldered, handsome, wavy white hair, sparkling blue eyes, some stubble, currently using a cane.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I was reading Grandpa Kurt, I was thinking of my grandpa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's got, white hair,
Mm-hmm.
really blue eyes, stubble. He's not tall and broad.
Yeah.
But he was also very handsome in his youth.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is my Grandpa Gibb.
Yeah. R.L. Stine was really bringing out the descriptors in the book.
Yeah.
He liked to paint a picture for you.
They're
not on Tolkien level descriptor, but
very few can pull that off.
He does a good job.
Yeah. Next we have Stanley. He is essentially their farmhand.
Mm-hmm.
He's skinny, has big ears, dark crew cut hair. He's described as odd but nice, and is very superstitious and carries around a book about superstitions. He's also worked for them for 20 years. A super long time.
Yeah.
And Stanley has a son who also lives on the farm with them, and the son's name is Styx. Did we get his actual first name?
No, I don't think so. Not that I remember, because, I was oh, surely this is a nickname for something, but I only ever heard him referred to as Styx.
Yeah, so Styx is Stanley's son. He's 16, and he's got long black hair. He always wears black clothes, right? It's 94, so he's your
goth kid.
Your goth kid. He has a history of being a prankster, and he calls Jody and Mark city kids because they're from New York City.
Yeah. Yeah. So coming to the farm. That's why, especially for Mark, it's not super exciting.
Right.
But
and he wants to play his video games and read comics and whatever.
Wonders where he's going to watch MTV, which I was MTV shout out.
It was the hot shit in 94.
Oh yeah.
MTV, come on.
I would sit there and wait with my blank video in the VCR to record the NSYNC music videos when they would come on.
Really?
Yes.
That's That's awesome.
Almost like, having a blank cassette tape when on the radio waiting for your favorite song to come. I would wait for my favorite music videos to play so I could record them and then watch them later.
That's really great planning skills. I definitely didn't do that. I just would not have had the technological wherewithal to get that accomplished. But NSYNC, touring.
Back together.
I've been seeing so much shit about it. I was not an NSYNC girly, so I don't have a dog in the race. Don't care, but... for all the NSYNCers out there, congratulations.
Yeah. They were my first concert that I ever went to, but even as a 12-year-old girl, I remember being like, I wish these girls would stop screaming so I can hear the music. I was so irritated. Yeah. Because that's all, most of the concert was just screaming. I was just shush, please. I'm trying to listen to the music. They all came out on, Mechanical Bulls, and it was I remember it being a pretty wild...
I was definitely a Backstreet Boys girl.
I got to see them in concert a handful of years ago.
Oh, really?
It was 2019. My friend Kat was like, I got tickets. Do you want to go with me? I was like, absolutely, I do. And they put on a good show. They did great. They did a great job.
I would go and see them and, live my 9-year-old fantasies.
Yeah, for sure.
I've never seen them. By the time I was, going to concerts, I was fully in my punk rock phase. Yeah. So, I think my first real concert, not local band, but true blue show, my Aunt Sarah took me to see. It was Relient K,
nice,
Good Charlotte, and Simple Plan.
Ooh, very good lineup.
So... I think probably the best band of the three was probably Relient K. The other two, I mean, they're good, sure, but if I was going to go back and listen to one of those three right now, I would pick Relient K.
Relient K is super good.
They're really fun as for a pop punk. Pop punk in general is fun, but...
Simple Plan, though, they were on repeat in my car.
I had a Simple Plan phase in junior high, but I grew out of it pretty quickly. Just the one album, the first one, I don't remember what it was called, but, I can't even name the songs now. But I was never really a huge Good Charlotte fan.
Yeah. Yeah. I listened to Good Charlotte, too, but I liked Simple Plan far more, and Relient K.
Yeah. But. Yeah. That was I was probably 14, I think.
Nice.
She took me to see them.
Very cool.
It was very fun. My first, big show.
Right.
I had seen, other local bands, around. So your husband included.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually have that CD.
You do?
I do.
Can I burn your CD? Because I really want a copy of it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I'll remind me and I'll send it with you.
Perfect.
They signed it as well.
Oh, I don't want to take your CD. I'll burn it to my computer and then I'll bring it back in perfect condition, I promise.
Make Caleb listen to the whole thing.
That would be amazing.
I haven't had a car with a CD player in it in, I don't know, 10 years.
We can sit in my car after this and give it a go.
Have you ever heard those songs?
Yes, because they performed... I don't remember how many years ago now, but they did kind of a little reunion show several years ago. I think that you...
Oh, this is not Muzzleloader.
Oh, one of the other bands. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I may have heard some of the songs, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. I'm trying to... There was another local band in the area at the same time that we were seeing, and I get their names mixed up, so I don't remember which one his was.
Gotcha. I know he was in a couple different ones before Muzzleloader. So.
Yeah, because there was a Sherwood band, and then Caleb's band. Nice. And Jeree was dating the lead singer. I didn't know any of them at this time. I was 13, and my friend Abby was like, will you please come with me to the show at her church? And I was like, Abby, come on, no. A church band? Get out of town. And she was like, please, my parents won't let me go by myself, and blah, blah, blah. It was a youth night situation, and she really wanted to go. So my friend Callie and I were like, fine, we'll go with you because we love you. But just for the record, we're not into it. Had no idea what we were going to see at all. Right. I was thinking like, because my family was all Baptists. Baptists do not have church bands. Right. You know? So I had no idea. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so lame. But we went and it was Kayla's band. Oh, nice. And whenever, I mean, obviously, like, I had no idea who any of these people were, but whenever later, when my mom and Dillard started going to their church, the first time I went, I was like, I know that person.
That guy on the drums.
Weird. I know that person. It took me a while to figure it out, but I was like going through my CDs and I found I was like, holy smokes. It has clicked. It has clicked.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yes, I will be borrowing that. Listen to it on the way home.
Oh, yeah, that's so fun.
Because my car does have a CD player, so I'm set up.
I wish my car had a CD player. I have so many CDs that I just, like, don't use anymore. Mm-hmm. Kind of obsolete because of Spotify.
Right.
But when you have gems like this one.
Right.
How are you supposed to listen, you know?
Yeah. Unless they decide to upload it to Spotify, it's not going to be there.
That's right. Oh, my God. Exciting.
Oh, man. Well, I guess we should divert off of memory lane.
Yeah.
And get to this book.
The plot points.
Ooh. So we start out the book with Jody and Mark getting picked up at the train station by Mr. Stanley. And, you know, it's just usual chit-chat conversation, you know. Mm-hmm. Just getting reacquainted. I get the vibe that they only come to their grandparents about once a year.
Yeah.
For the summer. And
I think they say something like that.
Yeah. But so Stanley comes to pick him up and they're having a nice little interaction. They drive through the little town just called Town, or at least that's what they refer to it as. But Stanley, for some reason, just starts muttering, "The Scarecrow walks at midnight." And Jody's like, "What you talking about?"
Huh?
And he just simply says that he read it in a book. And Jody is confused and just thinks, oh, Stanley's just being his odd self, you know, and just thinks he's making a joke or just something she doesn't understand.
Yeah. I actually, it struck me the first few descriptors we get of Stanley because I think the first one is his ears are huge. And then the next one is like, he isn't very smart.
I know. That made me so sad. I was like, and I don't remember, is that Jody saying that or is that the perception that she's been given like from her grandparents?
It's her, it's not dialogue. It's just her perception. Since we get it all from her point of POV, I'm just guessing this is her perception of him. But then it says Grandpa Kurt always says that Stanley isn't working with a full 100 watts.
So terrible.
Yikes. But I have found that interesting that our first descriptors of him are that he has huge ears and he's not very smart.
Right.
I was just like, oh, poor Stanley.
Yeah.
I mean,
because the kids seem to like him quite a bit. Like I said, they recognize that he is kind of quirky.
Right.
But they enjoy his company.
Yeah. And they've known him their whole lives. So I feel like when you know someone that long, you kind of stop noticing things like that.
Right.
I mean, I understand this is a book and they have to tell us, like, hey, Stanley's not very smart.
Right.
But in general, you stop noticing that. It just becomes like that's Stanley.
Right. Especially if he's been in their lives their whole lives.
Yeah.
You would think that the bond would almost be a little more familial.
Right. I agree. But I guess they only see him once a year, but they also only see their grandparents once a year.
Right. Unless they come up for Christmas, but they definitely don't go to their grandparents.
Yeah.
Except for the summer.
Right. You know.
So, but yeah, I found that to be quite a bummer. I was like, hey, now, why we gotta be throwing jabs?
I know. Oof. A little bit of a yikes there, but, you know. But we see them arrive at their grandparents' house, and the kids are pumped.
Right.
But the grandparents seem a little less energetic than they generally are, and they notice that their Grandpa Kurt is limping pretty heavily, and using a cane that he wasn't using the last year they were there. So they notice right off that there's a little bit of a difference going on, but they kind of just shrug it off.
Yeah. It was kind of sad because Jody was like, I always look forward to the excited expression on my grandparents' faces as they rush out of the house to greet us.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I know.
Because I feel like they came out and greeted them, but it just, for it to feel off, like, you know, that expectation versus
the reality.
Yeah.
Dang, you know, expectations.
But it was obviously a good way to illustrate.
To start planting that seed.
Yes.
Like something is amiss.
Right.
Yeah. So Grandma Miriam suggests that Stanley show the kids the scarecrows that he has built, and Grandpa Kurt quickly changes the subject. So we've already got the scarecrows walk at midnight line, and now we're talking about real scarecrows that Stanley's built. So we already know
something's up.
Something is up with these scarecrows.
Right. Even if no one told you that they might possibly walk at midnight, just scarecrows are not, you know, a jolly sight.
Yeah.
Maybe if you live on a farm, it's more normal, but growing up, just anything with a face that's inanimate, like it just has an air of like slight creepiness.
I agree. I also don't know that scarecrows have been prevalently used on farms in a very long time. Certainly not around here. I grew up in a rural area.
Yeah, I guess I've never seen any around here.
Never seen a scarecrow in my life. Like in a field, like a practically scarecrow. That's not fall decor.
Yeah.
So I don't know that in reality they're used, really.
Yeah, at least not anymore.
Yeah.
Perhaps
way back.
Yeah, they were.
Maybe. I mean, they had to have been at some level.
Right.
Because, either way.
Right.
They're a thing at some point in history.
Right. But yeah, so we already have the inkling, like, to be suspicious of these scarecrows.
Yes.
So later, they always take their traditional tour of the farm, just kind of like walking the area. And Stanley tells the kids that his book told him how to make the scarecrows and how to make them walk at midnight. And he tells them that he is their boss.
Mm-hmm.
But again, he doesn't really elaborate. So he's just like making these wild comments.
Yeah.
Amidst they're hanging out and they're going about the farm.
Yeah, which honestly, this made me wonder, how long has Stanley had this book?
Right.
And it doesn't seem like he had this book the last time they were there.
Right.
And so I'm wondering, because they kind of brush off what he says.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if maybe he has always kind of just randomly said random things.
Right. Because like I said, they do say that he's odd as well as not just stupid or slow, but they, you know, so maybe they just think he's being an oddball or whatever. But especially if he's always been superstitious, even before he got this book, you know, he strikes me as the type of person that would be concerned if a black cat crossed his path or someone that wouldn't walk under a ladder, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
Like,
that's
superstitious in that way, though this book doesn't necessarily seem like it's really superstitions that it focuses on, except for the fact that, like, when it tells them to, like, circle the barn 3 times or whatever for good luck, you know, but...
Yeah, right. It's just, I just wonder if his behavior in, like, talking about this book constantly and talking about these scarecrows and saying that they walk around, if that's a departure from his general personality as they know him. Yeah. Or if this is just new, weird, strange.
Maybe he, like, fixates on, like, a specific thing and just kind of, like, continually talks about it. So maybe they just think that this is his new...
like, hobby. Like, last year, his hobby was, like, model boats and bottles. And he just talked about it the whole time they were there.
Right. And this time it's scarecrows.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be.
Or something like that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that, you know, same. You know?
Yeah.
When you're in a new hobby, that's, like, all you're thinking about, really.
Right. True. It's very true.
Or in an old hobby.
Yeah.
That you've been doing your whole life. Like reading books.
I was going to say, like, if you're in the middle of a really good book, like, there have been times, especially when I was, like, reading Legendborn, that I was like, oh, Caleb, I want to talk to you about this so bad. But you won't have any idea what I'm saying to you.
I know. It's
Which it would probably
tough.
sound as, like, odd as the Scarecrow walks at midnight, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the Scions came out and they were doing this to the Shadowborn. He'd be like, yeah, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, right.
Sure. Yeah. There's nothing that makes you feel more compelled to, like, talk to someone than reading, like, a really good book.
Right. So maybe they're just passing it off.
Yeah.
Like, he just loves this superstition book.
This book must be the shit.
I want to know where he got it.
I agree.
I need to know more.
We need some backstory on Stanley and this book.
Yes, I agree.
Because it's giving very grimoire vibes.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Okay, so during their grand tour,
Yeah.
he's taken to the Scarecrows, and this is when Jody kind of thinks she sees one moving for the first time,
Mm-hmm.
and it, like, tries to grab her, and she's like, ah!
Yeah.
Freaking out, obviously. But it turns out that it's just Styx.
Yeah.
Stanley's son is, just trying to pull a little pranky prank.
Right.
And scare her.
Right.
And Mark. And it works. But then he kind of gets a little serious with her, and he's like, hey, shit's different here. Like, things have changed.
Right.
But he doesn't elaborate.
No. I just think that this is, especially with what he knows or could know,
Mm-hmm.
this is not a good joke.
No, not a good
At
joke.
all.
Right.
And she just had, I think at this point, she just had like a scare, or at least the book kind of gave us a little false scare about the corn being like rotten or gross.
Yeah, the worms.
Yes. But then Stanley's like, hey, no, that's normal. It just happens sometimes, you know? So it's not like there's a curse upon the farm or anything.
Yeah.
But to be kind of like, worms, and then be grabbed by a scarecrow. It's
right.
like, you know, she was already on edge.
Yeah, she's at the jump scare portion. And then Styx just gets her.
Yeah.
But...
And then he's being all cryptic.
Yeah. See, and here's where my mind was just like, why doesn't he just say what's different?
I know.
Because that would... Obviously, the answer to that question is the rest of the book would be unnecessary.
Right. Just like most movies, specifically rom-coms, like, it's a situation where one conversation would fix everything.
Literally.
But if that happened, then you wouldn't have a story to tell.
Exactly. Exactly. That's like, there are a lot of, like, memes in regards to, like, the Harry Potter series where, like, one decision at the beginning, like, when Harry is a tiny baby, they're like, let's not leave this kid with the Dursleys, who clearly are very, very anti-wizard.
And pieces of trash.
Right. Like, there's just so many where it's like, if this would have happened, Harry Potter would not have been a series.
Yeah, it was like the beginning of Sorcerer's Stone, and then they let him stay with the Weasleys instead. The end, or whatever.
Yeah, which is hilarious. But I mean, it's true on some level. Every book has to have a plot device to move the story forward.
Right.
And I know, like, as long as you don't see the seams of that, you're not going to notice it until you're, like, asking this question.
Right.
But any book, any story, there's going to be some element where you have to suspend your disbelief.
Right. Especially when you're from the point of view of a child. Like,
yes.
Some children would just be like, no, tell me, and, punch the crap out of someone until they divulged it. But that's not Jodie's vibe. She's just like, what is going on? What?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm just here for the farm fun. Like, don't mess with me.
She's trying to vibe at the farm.
Right.
And Styx is like, yikes.
Yeah. She's like, whatever, you always tease us. You always prank. Like,
yeah.
get away.
Yeah, and it's clear, like, that the relationship that Jody and Mark have with Styx is just not one that involves a lot of trust.
No.
So she just can't take him seriously.
No, so she's not going to ask him to elaborate. She's just like, whatever, you're just trying to scare me.
They're not in each other's confidence, so it's not like she's going to level with him. Like, okay, let's get some serious going. What do you mean?
Right. You and I, on the other hand, would be like, tell me now or I'm calling the train station.
I absolutely hate to be left on, like, a cliffhanger like that, especially in like, conversation with people. Yeah. Like, it is absolutely unacceptable for someone to send you a text and be like, hey, can we talk later? Yeah. I'm sorry. No.
We can talk now.
I'm going to call you this minute and you're going to tell me what you got to tell me.
Absolutely.
There's none of this. None of this is going to happen.
Right. I understand that just like bombarding a person with said topic, you know, you got to have some sort of like weigh in. But yeah, talk later. No. Yeah. We need to talk now.
I would rather you just call me and have no greeting, no prelude, just immediately tell me. Yeah. Than send me we need to talk later. Bitch, no. My mind is already full of chaos. It's it's the Amazon jungle in there. It's not good on a normal day. So I will full spiral.
Yeah. Yes. And what I come up with will be 10 times worse than what you have to say, even if what you have to say is pretty awful.
Yeah, so much
I'll find a scenario that is a million times worse.
Exactly.
So you might as well just save me the worry and the misery and just tell me.
Yeah, it's going to be easier for everyone. To just say what you got to say.
Because then you put the person in a heightened state of stress.
Exactly.
To receive what you've got to say.
Exactly. Yeah.
But luckily, Jody's child mind just is like, okay, whatever, sticks, if you're not going to elaborate.
Yeah. At 12 years old, I would have been like, nah, you got to tell me now.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to need to know these.
Yes. I'm not moving from this spot until you tell me.
That's probably like an anxiety reaction. Yeah. Like, it can't be left in a state of heightened curiosity for too long.
Right.
Maybe that's why I don't like to make myself doctor's appointments or dentist appointments.
The stress and anticipation is just too much.
It's too much for me. My delicate constitution.
But apparently Jody's made of stronger stuff than us, and she just lets that roll.
Fine with it. She's like, all right, sick.
Right. She's like, okay, weirdo. Anyway. So they have dinner that night, and things still feel off. You know, Grandma and Grandpa are really quiet, and normally they're asking them about their lives and telling stories and laughing, and they're just not. Yep. And Styx is all tense, but Stanley's just
bebopping here.
Yeah. Just acting normal at the dinner table, living it up. And, Jody's just kind of remarking on her upset by the changes that she's seeing in her grandparents. The behavioral is one thing, but like she keeps talking about how like they seem older. Yeah. And we don't really ever go back to that. So I just kind of wonder if it's just stress or whatever. But also, I guess maybe just remarking on the realization that children, especially if you haven't seen them for a year. Yeah. As people age, things change. So she's just very upset by this.
Yeah, she does remark on it more than once how old they look. I also think that constantly being in a state of solemnity it probably makes you look older. Yeah. Instead of what she's used to is the excitement, relaxed and jovial. That kind of brings out your youth. Yes. So when they're very serious and stoic, probably does accentuate their age.
Yeah. So the whatever's going on change that's happened in them is still very obvious and bothersome to her. But after dinner, they go to relax in, I guess, I think it was a den or whatever, just kind of the living room or whatever. And Jody remarks on this taxidermy bear that her grandpa killed. So we kind of get a little story about his hunting prowess and how he killed this bear and rescued 2 other hunters in the process and stuff. But Jody is not a fan of this bear.
Doesn't like the bear.
No. But, in seeing it and kind of talking about that story, It's like, oh yeah, Grandpa, tell us one of your classic scary stories. You know, we love to hear those. And he just claims that he doesn't know any.
Which is so strange.
What do you mean? You have told me them my whole life.
Yeah.
You don't know any.
You don't know any stories? What do you mean?
All right. So, more disappointment.
Yeah. So they didn't get their scary stories.
Mm-mm.
Their grandparents are acting all weird.
Mm-hmm.
The vibe is just off.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is happening here?
Right.
So they're getting ready for bed. Jody's like in her room and she notices the scarecrows out of her window.
Mm-hmm.
And she's kind of like, something is happening. And she notices that the scarecrows are all like starting to twitch a little. And they're like pulling on the poles that they're on. Ooh. And she's like, that's a no from me. And she's trying to go tell her grandparents, but their door is closed and clearly they've already gone to bed. Right. So she locks the windows and ignores it and tries to go to sleep.
I don't know how she did that. I would have just sat there and stared probably out my window all night in a state of panic.
Yeah.
I would have been banging down my grandparents' door, to be quite honest.
I probably actually would have done exactly what she did. That would have definitely been my response.
Even like, I'm being irrational.
Right.
This is clearly my mind playing tricks on me. Yeah. We're just going to barricade the windows just in case.
Yeah.
And go to sleep. And hope that it goes away in the morning.
Or I would have like snuck into Mark's room and been like, hey, Mark, will you come and sleep in my room tonight? And then we would have slept in the room together. And I would have just, like, slept with the covers, like, pulled up. That would have been my move in this scenario. Yeah. But I definitely would not have woken up my grandparents or parents, nor would I probably wouldn't have slept that well. Mm-hmm. But I would have tried to pretend that the scarecrows were not doing what they were doing.
Understood. Understandable.
You know, just ignore it. It'll go away.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah, I probably would have freaked out.
I mean, that makes more sense.
But I do think she does have a restless night of sleep.
Yeah,
but
I think she does, yeah.
She has the idea of pancakes to sustain her. And she is like, it is pancake time. Here I come. Breakfast table. And all of a sudden she gets downstairs and there are no pancakes. Not even like being prepared.
None.
We get a box of cereal. And when
cornflakes.
When you're expecting pancakes and you get a box of cereal,
nah.
Especially as a child, that is like the height of disappointment.
So much disappointment. Like, especially, they went into great detail on these pancakes.
Yes.
Like,
I want pancakes now. I am 100% either getting pancakes or French toast for myself this weekend.
Yeah.
Because of this book.
Exactly. Yeah. Chocolate chip pancakes?
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here. I prefer blueberry, but
me too.
Chocolate chip, good too.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
You know.
So just, this emphasizes even more that things are different.
Yeah.
And we actually get a little scare. Again, Jody sees a scarecrow hand coming from her grandma's arm, but then all of a sudden she realizes it's just her grandma holding a broom.
Yep.
But she just blames her watery allergy eyes because obviously on this farm there are things probably afloating in the air, and this like, especially this girl, she lives in the concrete jungle. She is not used to the pollen.
Yeah. And hay is like a major allergy for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I like the quote-unquote jump scares in the book. I feel like they're clever and not like cheaply done. You know, it's like they are explained away, but you can see where she didn't sleep well. She's on edge. She thinks she saw them move. So it's like something like that would kind of mess with her, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's well done, like in his writing. I think those little spots in the book are very effective, especially for a young reader.
Yeah, for sure. So when they sit down, Jody just decides to tell everyone about what she saw with the scarecrows at night. Mm-hmm. She's like, listen, I can't hold this in any longer. And Stanley says it was just the wind. And she notices that her grandparents kind of like exchange glances.
Yeah.
And she's, like, kind of putting that in her back pocket. She's like, okay.
Again, as an adult, I'd be like, what is this?
Yeah.
What is this that we are doing right here?
Yeah. Seems like it's not the wind.
Right.
Am I right?
Right. But kids are just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. They're much more likely to accept an explanation from an adult.
Right. Right.
And you think, all right, well, okay, that's got to be true.
Right. Because scarecrows don't move, so.
Yeah. Who am I?
Okay.
So that little thing happens, and then it's kind of suggested that Stanley take the kids out fishing. And so Stanley, Jody, and Mark get their fishing poles, and they go to the creek.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be fishing. This is when they circle the barn 3 times for good luck, which is strange.
Yep.
But whatever.
It's in the book.
It's in the book.
And Styx is busy. Jody's kind of like, why isn't Styx coming with us? But
he's like, he's busy. So Jody is fishing, and she feels like the Scarecrow. They have to, like, wade into the creek. So they're, like, standing in the water doing their fishing. And she thinks that she feels a Scarecrow grab her leg.
yeah, she feels like, stringy, strawy hands grab her ankles and start to tug her down.
Yeah, and she, like, freaks out and falls down, and then realizes it's just, like, a clump of, like, sticks and grass from the creek.
This poor girl.
She's like, damn it.
Got me again.
Got me again. But then now she's, like, completely soaked through.
Yeah.
And she's done fishing. She's like, nah, I'm done with this.
Right.
So
I think Mark's like, you scared all the fish away.
Yeah, he is.
He doesn't care.
He has literally no care in the world at this point.
No, he seems to not notice a darn thing.
Yeah, he's in La La Land, essentially, until Jody, like, forces him to acknowledge what's happening.
Right. But yeah, at this point, she's scared away the fish in that area. So Stan and Mark go to a little spot just a little down the ways. And Jody thinks she sees a Scarecrow off in the distance. And she's kind of wondering, like, did it follow us from the farm? Like, what is going on? So she looks away and looks back, and it's gone. Pretty typical.
Yeah.
That's how it always goes. You never take your eyes off of it.
That's right. Same with spiders.
Right. They disappear when your eyes move away from them.
Yep.
But she does decide to tell Stan that she saw, or thinks she saw, a Scarecrow, but that it disappeared. And Stan kind of panics a little bit and says that he needs to go read his book or consult his book, and he runs off. So this leaves Mark to carry the fishing poles. And Jody runs after Stan.
Yeah. Which I think it's, I don't know. It's Stanley and his, like, reaction to her saying all the stuff about the Scarecrow seems strange. Like, it scares him.
Well, it's weird because at first he's like, oh, it's just the wind.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, I gotta consult my book. So it's like, which is it?
Right.
Is it my imagination or something happening?
Yeah, is it no big deal, or are you actually freaked out?
Right. And maybe I read that scene earlier on incorrectly. Maybe it was like, it was probably just the wind. But maybe he was actually nervous. But that's not how I read it. But either way, he's sending mixed signals.
He's sending so many mixed signals.
But so after Stanley goes to run and consult his book, she kind of, like I said, leaves Mark behind because he's carrying all the fishing poles. And she passes a Scarecrow and kind of just, like, looks at it. And, she confirms it's not moving. This thing is stagnant. But then she thinks she sees her grandpa in the barn, and she goes to find him and talk to him. But then she gets locked into the barn. Yeah. Which is a little alarming.
Pretty strange.
To me, it'd be like getting locked in a dark basement. Like, no, thank you. Nah. And then she starts hearing scraping noises at the barn door. And so she climbs up into the barn loft, and she sees a Scarecrow outside the door. Yep. What? Yep. So I guess they have, like, a rope that's kind of, like, hanging there. And she's like, that's the only way I'm going to get out of here because the door's locked, So she swings down on the rope from the loft, intending to... I think she sees a Scarecrow, but then sees it kind of, like, run off, and she's like, oh no, I'm getting to the bottom of this. So she swings down, intending to chase after the Scarecrow, but then she bumps into Styx. Yep. So of course it's Styx. She's like, stop trying to scare me with these dang Scarecrows. I'm over it.
Yeah, your joke's not funny.
Right.
Let's knock it off.
But then her and Styx, like, talk for a bit, and he learns that his dad ran off after she thought she saw a scarecrow. So then Styx runs off, probably to go talk to his dad. And, you know, Jody's just standing there like, what the heck is happening?
Yeah, yeah. But, I mean, essentially, she doesn't really see Styx and Stanley again until they get to dinner.
Yeah.
And so they're all at dinner, and Grandma makes a cherry pie.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, Jody's kind of like, what's up with this? Don't we usually have apple? Because Grandpa's allergic to cherries. And Grandma just says it's Stanley's favorite.
And that's the end of that.
And that's it. And they have cherry pie. And then they go to the living room and they ask Grandpa for stories again. And he says he's run out of stories. Same old excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, kids. No more stories.
Right.
Tapped out.
And
they're like, all right, well, this is a real bummer.
Right. It's almost like Mark. He's probably like, typical. I knew this was going to be boring. Can't play games. Can't watch MTV. They got 3 channels.
Right.
This is what I expected. But Jody really has like fond memories. And she's just like, why is this like this? This is not how this is.
Yeah. Yeah, and she specifically had a lot of anticipation coming up to the visit, and she was like looking forward to it, loves all the farms and everything, and so she's really let down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Jody has yet another restless night of sleep and a really bad dream this is the dream where her grandparents are scarecrows?
I think so, yes. Okay. Like everyone's turned into scarecrows and like kind of lunging at her or whatever.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right. So, yeah. So she has a dream basically that the scarecrow gets into her window. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that it's her grandpa and he's a scarecrow. And so then she opens the door and her grandma's there and her grandma's a scarecrow. And it's this whole attack.
I would say it sounds like a very, if I had that dream today, that would scare me.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a bit alarming.
Yeah. I envision, like, the way that the faces, the burlap faces are described, it kind of makes me think of that movie Strangers, or The Strangers, where they have, like, the white sacks on their faces. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I, like, picture. Ooh. And that movie is scary.
I have not watched that movie. I don't, I like a lot of scary movies. Most of them are clearly fiction or focused on one specific person / group of people that are not me.
Yeah.
But in movies like Strangers, where it happened to you because you answered the door or because you were home.
Yeah.
/ it could happen to anyone at any time in real life.
Yeah.
That's not fun for me.
That's not fun.
Real danger? Lurking out my door? No, thank you.
I know. This world, like, real life is scary enough that I don't need to heighten those senses.
No.
I just don't.
Yeah.
You know. A slasher? Yes.
Right.
I'm not worried about Michael Myers out here.
Right. Ghostface is going after Sidney Prescott.
Yeah. Yeah. Michael Myers.
He ain't coming after Whit.
That's right.
He don't care.
Ghostface, Jason, Michael Myers, they don't care about us.
Yeah.
You know, we're not Lori.
Yeah. We're not in the town that they creep around.
This is not Camp Crystal Lake.
No.
We're just chilling, and so they don't care about us.
Right.
So watching those is, like, no big deal at all.
Exactly.
But yeah, The Strangers, horrifying.
Right. Yep.
Super horrifying. That's kind of an old one. I think I watched it when it, like, first came out. I don't remember who I watched it with. I do not do scary movies by myself.
Right.
That's
silly.
That's silly.
You wouldn't want to do that to yourself.
No. That's why I watch Hallmark movies when Dakota's gone.
Right.
Yeah, because this house could lean creepy if you, like, watched a scary movie and then had to sleep in this house by yourself. Yeah, it probably...
Every settle move, every nail popping in the wall is someone coming to get you.
That's right. That's right.
We're not taking any chances.
Nope.
Not putting the thoughts in our heads.
Nope.
But yeah, so yeah, her dream is quite unsettling.
Yeah, so yeah, she's scared, but then she wakes up in the morning and she realizes it was a dream. She's like, okay, thank God. Mm-hmm. And her allergies are flaring up. They're really rocking her world right now.
Right.
I've never suffered from allergies, but I gather that it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, your eyeballs are watery and running down your face. Your nose is either clogged or running. You know, it's unpleasant.
Yeah, doesn't sound like a good time. She's holding out some hope that there's going to be pancakes this morning. Nope. It's cornflakes. Not even like a fun cereal.
I know. Nothing with a marshmallow, you know.
Yeah. No Reese's Puffs.
No.
This is cornflakes.
Cornflakes.
Which, I mean, I like cornflakes.
I like a good bowl of cornflakes.
But when you're 11, 12 years old, probably not looking for cornflakes.
Right. Or just if you have your taste buds set to pancake, cornflakes ain't gonna cut it.
When you are craving a very specific food, nothing else is gonna satisfy that need.
Nothing else will do. No.
Whenever I have ice cream on the brain, it's ice cream or nothing.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about eating a cookies and cream ice cream cone before I left the house because I have some ice cream cones and I have some of that ice cream, the soft one I was telling you about that makes it like extra creamy.
Yeah.
I thought about it before I left the house. I didn't really have time, but you bet your buns. But when I walk back in that door, I'm making myself an ice cream cone before bed.
Yeah.
If not tonight, then I will certainly have one tomorrow.
Exactly. And this is where Jody's at.
Yeah.
So she's double let down on morning 2. And she asks her grandma, she's like, hey, Grandma, what's up with the pancakes? And her grandma's like,
why no pancakes?
I forgot how to make those. And she's like, that seems untrue. And she tries to ask her grandma if everything's okay. And her grandma's just kind of like brushes it off, deflects it, and suggests that her and Mark go for a horseback ride.
Right.
So she's, employing elusive maneuvers here.
Yeah. She's got tactics.
She's got tactics.
But, so Mark and Jody get their horses. They just kind of bop along. They're not expert riders. This is not...
Yeah.
This is something they do like once a year, and they can do like a soft trot, right? We're not doing jumps and tricks over here.
Yeah,
so.
These are not dressage horses.
No. So they're trotting along, but then all of a sudden, a scarecrow jumps out in front of the kids on the horses. And these horses, rightfully so, freak out, and both the kids get thrown off the horse.
Yeah, and Jody kind of like blacks out for a split second.
Yeah, and Mark breaks his wrist or his arm. Yeah, his wrist.
Yeah.
It's like, these kids could have died.
Like those are straight up injuries. She's probably concussed.
Oh, absolutely. I was kind of waiting for it to be like out of my head. But
yeah. I mean, it does describe her as blacking out, but she never like mentions any further like pain. But she's definitely concussed.
100%.
You don't just black out and not have a concussion.
Right. And then, after waking up after such a traumatizing event, she thinks she sees this like skeletal hand reaching for her, but it's just Stanley.
It's just... It's just Stanley.
They got us again.
Yeah.
But, Stanley actually saw the scarecrow jump out at them. So that's why he came over.
Yeah.
But he's more focused on the kids being injured. So he notices that, Mark's wrist is hurt. One of the horses actually ran off. So there's only one left. So, Stanley's like, hey, I'm going to take Mark back on the horse. Can you walk back? Which... I've broken a bone. I broke both bones in the bottom half of my leg before, my tibia and my fibula. And even the car ride, like just the car bumps, sent me through the roof. I was just like, could you please stop hitting speed bumps? My mom's like, I'm not. It was awful. It hurt so bad. Can you imagine having a broken arm and like bouncing on a horse?
No.
I think I would have been like, I will walk. Yeah. But then again, if he's in that much pain, maybe he wants to get there quickly.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you that bopping up and down with a broken bone is an absolute no-no.
It's a no.
But either way, Stan is taking Mark on the horse while Jody walks back, and she gets so mad at this. I mean, like, she's like, realizes like her and Mark could have gotten way more hurt or killed. She's just so angry. She starts like kicking the snot out of the Scarecrow on the ground. And I mean, it's just a scarecrow. It's just hay, you know, it's just nothing alive about it, but she's done playing. She's done playing games.
She's over it fully. And so they go to lunch, and I think they kind of figure out that Mark's wrist is sprained.
Yeah.
But he's going to be fine.
He'll be fine.
So they're at lunch, and Jody tells her grandparents everything that's been going on and her suspicions, and they're dismissive, and they just tell her that it's just Sticks and he's joking around and like no big deal.
Yeah. And
she's kind of like, okay.
I would be like, I almost died. Yeah. Do we not know how serious horse accidents are? Like, are you real? Kidding me? I think on one hand, she wants them to be right and wants it really, like, does want it to have just been Sticks. Right. But as like a deep down, I think she knows like something's going on here. Something else is happening. Like, right. But she doesn't want to take it out on them, so she's like, fine, I'll take it out on Sticks. Yeah. So she knows she's on a mission, and she's like, I'm about to find this kid. And we're about to square up because I'm over it. Right. And she can't find him, but then he kind of like pops out of the shadows, and he's like, I warned you. And she's like, okay. And he starts to explain, but then he loses his chance and has to run off. And I think he's going to look for his dad at this point. Yes. So she still thinks, or part of her still thinks, okay, Sticks he's being a jerk here. Right. He's a coward. He just doesn't want to face up to what he almost did, you know, or is doing to us. So. Exactly. She's like, I'm getting revenge. Yeah. So she's like, game on. I'm not taking this shit lying down. Right. And so her and Mark devise this plan. Mark's going to dress up as a scarecrow, and they're going to put him by the other scarecrows and scare Sticks. Right. She's going to like lure him into the field and be like, oh, I saw one move. And then have Mark pop out and scare him. Yeah. And then that's going to get him back. Right. But, I don't think it would have worked, but... I agree. I don't think it would have worked. I think he would have definitely known. Yeah. But, she dresses up Mark. She puts him in the field. She's like, okay, stay and he's here. Itching eye heaven, and I just feel every scratch of straw on my skin as I'm reading it. I'm like, get it off. I know. So she goes to start the plan. So she's out. She has to find Sticks because she's got to lure him into the field. Mm-hmm. And so she goes to Stanley's and Sticks' house, and outside of the house, before she can get there, a scarecrow legit attacks her. Mm-hmm. And so it's got her on the ground, or it's got a hold of her. Yeah, it's like trying to choke her, or it's grabbed her, you know. It has her in its clutches. Mm-hmm. And luckily, Sticks opens the door and sees this and saves her. Yeah. He, like, gets it off of her, and now she has realized, okay, well, obviously the scarecrows really are walking around. Right. Because Sticks was not that thing that just attacked me. Right. And he was not anywhere near where he could control it in any way, shape, or form. Exactly. But, like, it just stops. She throws it to the ground and it just stops moving. It's like, what? Something's glitched in whatever is making them be alive. Yeah, because they're, like, alive a little bit. Right. A little bit. What if the book was called The Scarecrows Are Alive a Little Bit? Yeah. Not The Scarecrows Walk at Midnight. They're alive a little bit. They're alive just a little. Because they don't even walk at midnight. They walk at all times of the day. This is daylight. She was riding on the horse and it jumped across the path. Yeah. So see, there's a glitch in the magic that's going on here. Yeah. Something. Yeah. So Sticks tells Jody, finally, he explains that, you know, things are different. He explains why. He's telling Jody that Stanley, in his book, brought the scarecrows to life, and that he only put them back to sleep under certain conditions. So that's when we find out that the grandparents had to make this deal that they would be nice to him and not tease him anymore. Because apparently, like we said earlier, the grandpa says that, you know, that Stanley is, slow and stupid. Well, apparently he doesn't just tell other people that, but he teases him specifically directly to his face about it.
Yeah.
And, so he makes them promise that they're going to be nice to him and not tease him, and that they're going to do what he wants. So, okay, that explains the cereal and the pie and the no scary stories, because he likes cornflakes and he likes cherry pie and he does not like the scary stories.
Right.
So he makes all that stop.
Yeah.
Which then you're just like, I can't blame him,
Right. Right. This part was it made me feel sad.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning, you get the descriptions of the grandparents as Jody sees them. And they're like, what you think of your grandparents? They're just sweet and kind and happy and, your grandparents, right? And then all of a sudden you get this explanation and they're essentially bullying Stanley.
Yeah, how bad did it have to be for him to be like, I'm going to make an army of scarecrows to
scare
intimidate them to where it makes them be nice to me.
Yeah, and there's also that power imbalance too between Stanley and the grandparents because they're his boss.
Right.
And one of the things he says about the scarecrows is that he's their boss.
Right.
So he's kind of in some way, Stanley doesn't have really any agency over himself because he's at their mercy and they mistreat him and tease him.
Right.
And it really made me a little sad.
Yeah.
And also, is this the moral of this book?
Yeah.
Right? Is that what the book is trying to convey? That consistently making fun of someone will eventually to drive them to act
in extreme
ways. Yeah. Take drastic measures to stop the bullying from happening. Because that's essentially what he's doing.
Right.
So...
And I just wish we would have seen a little more remorse from the grandparents. Because it almost seems like one of those situations, and this really happens, there are people that tease people relentlessly.
Yeah.
But in their mind, they're just kidding.
It
doesn't mean anything. It's not a big deal, but it's
the person on the receiving end doesn't see it that way.
Exactly. So it doesn't really matter how you intend it. How it's being received is awful.
Yeah.
And you need to recognize that and just stop being a douche.
Yeah. It was just it's so crazy. And it just made me think Stanley has been working for the grandparents for so long.
Yeah. Again, it should be more of a familial bond.
That's what I mean. And he lives on their property.
Yeah.
And it just made me think that they would appreciate him more, have more respect for him, and not be cruel and laugh at him.
Yeah. And be harsh to him. It's quit. He should not have to have gone to these means to subdue you to the point, because now it's not just because he wasn't just stop making fun of me. It was not only are you going to stop making fun of me, you're going to do what I want, what I say.
Yeah.
So he felt like he had to turn the tables completely.
Right.
And kind of intimidate them.
Yeah.
And that's so sad.
It really is. It really is. So...
But so he makes that deal with them, but clearly the spell to put them back to sleep didn't fully work.
Right.
Because they're still kind of, like we said, sometimes alive.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, so Stanley comes out and sees the Scarecrow on the ground, but then Mark, who's still dressed up as a Scarecrow, comes running out of the field. And so Stanley sees him and panics.
Yeah, he's in full panic mode. Okay, these scarecrows are not asleep.
Yeah. So he runs away and Styx follows him. And he's trying to redo the awakening spell because he thinks that he's in charge of the scarecrows and they're going to listen to him. Right.
He's something went wrong with the first spell. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to wake him up and I'll tell them what to do.
Exactly. But it doesn't work and they don't listen to him and basically advance on everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So the scarecrows are chasing, because they're all kind of separated right now. You know, Styx and Stanley were kind of off a ways when Stanley did the spell, which it made a comment that Styx was kind of frozen while he was doing the spell. And I kind of thought that that would come back into play, but it really didn't.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of interesting to point that out, but then not have anything happen with it.
Right.
But yeah, so they're all kind of separated. So then Jody and Mark are still kind of where they were. So yeah, these scarecrows are coming after them, and you know, they're tripping, they're falling, you know, all this stuff. But I mean, they're all made full of hay. So like as they're coming in closer, you know, obviously that's just going to aggravate Jody's allergies. And she sneezes, and she notices that the scarecrows, you know, her brother jumped in surprise when she sneezed, and all the scarecrows did the same. So they're thinking that the scarecrows think that Mark is their leader. So they kind of test this by having Mark do different things. And their thought is, oh, well, if Mark takes his head off, they'll take their heads off, and they'll die. They'll die or be done. Yeah. He does it and just exposes his face, and they're like, oh, you're not one of us. You're not our, you know, these scarecrows are apparently fairly smart. So this did not work at all.
Yeah.
And they begin to attack again. So they run to warn their grandparents. And they kind of run into the rest of the group. So the grandparents and Stanley and Styx, we're all together now. And we're just being advanced upon. And earlier there was a comment about a torch that was like always lit in the back of the barn. It didn't really seem significant at the time. It was just kind of like, oh, there's a torch burning over there. Well, there was a reason for it, because Styx, just in case, had this torch constantly burning. So he actually ran, you know, found a hole in the scarecrows, I guess, ran to get the torch, and he basically burns up all the scarecrows, and the crisis is over. Yep. So. Yep. Styx, who we thought was our mean boy villain, saved the day.
He saved the day. And basically that everyone kind of goes to bed after that. They're
I
like,
guess.
All right, let's go sleep now.
Yeah, I guess it's like the stress is over and everything's okay again.
Yeah. So the next day, things are like back to normal, which I thought when we woke up the next day that we were going to get pancakes, but there's like no mention of the pancakes.
I thought that too. I was like, we're finally going to get the pancakes.
Yeah. I thought that would that was going to like round out our story, but we didn't get the pancakes.
We didn't get the pancakes.
But it's the next day. Things are back to normal. Mark is reading his comics. The grandparents are kind of taking a nap. Styx went to get the mail, and Jody is just kind of chilling. She's in the den, and Stan is in the kitchen reading his book, his superstition book.
Which someone should have been like, hey, we're going to bury this somewhere.
Yeah, they should have confiscated it.
Yes.
But Jody can hear him like murmuring, and then she notices that the bear in the den starts to like growl and move. And she yells out to Stanley, what chapter have you been reading? And then the book is over.
Yeah.
So it's like that kind of something that I think happens in a lot of like the shows from this time.
Yes.
Where something happens at the end and it's like, well, time for another one.
Right. It's like, wait, no, don't leave me on this cliffhanger. What do you mean?
Yeah. So that's the end of the book.
That's it.
Heyo.
Yeah.
So again, our next novel, before we give our final thoughts, we'll go ahead and tell you our next book. And it is The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Woo woo.
Heyo. You knew this was coming because we did Chamber of Secrets not that long ago.
Right.
So
doing them on a consistent basis. So
yeah.
And this is when we kind of take that tonal shift, at least movie-wise, but I would say book-wise things intensify as well.
Yeah, things get a little a slightly darker tone.
Yeah.
A slightly more mature tone.
Coincidentally also about bullying.
Yes.
In a lot of moments.
Right. Yep. We have a lot of moments where that's at play. So, you know, this is... And they're 13 now, so it's like they're teenagers. Yeah. So I think that also plays a part. We get our first, like, hint of Harry's crush. So it's not fully out until the next book, but you get, like, a smidgen of it in
like,
this
he
one.
notices someone.
Yeah. The first time you see him, like, notice a girl.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They're easing us into, like, that teenage boy mind.
For sure. For sure.
So, and largely, a lot of people claim Prisoner of Azkaban is their favorite book of the series. I feel like that's a hot take because I just can't. I love Prisoner of Azkaban. Mm-hmm. Like, it's great, but I also love all of them.
Yeah.
But when I sit down and I'm thinking about my personal Harry Potter hierarchy, it is not Prisoner of Azkaban #1.
No.
So I'm always a little confused by that because it's still very, like, kids' book.
Yeah, and I looking back now, like, it's definitely obviously good. We've already talked about that. They're all amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I almost feel like the Chamber of Secrets story is actually more interesting. Like, in a keeping you guessing the whole time kind of thing, where in this, I don't know. And maybe it's just because I know it now, so it's not as... It's probably just because I know
the story.
The story. Yeah. So I'm just like, yeah. There's no real danger. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know, because I know the Chamber of Secrets as well, but it's just... I don't know. It's like... It just seems like if the intention that they think that he has is really there, like, there are things that are kind of deflecting that. So I don't know. I don't know. It's definitely not my least favorite, but there are parts of it where, and they keep pointing out Hermione being in like two classes at once and how it's not possible. And I'm just like, either tell us or don't, but like, stop bringing it up.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. It sounds dumb. No, I guess that one's not less interesting than Chamber. I don't know. It's not my favorite either, is basically what I'm trying to say. It's good.
Yeah.
But it's not my favorite.
Yeah. I remember the first time I read it, I was a little like, this doesn't feel as exciting as the first two.
Yeah.
But it improves on the reread.
There's a lot of animosity and not a ton of things going on. Like, a thing will happen, but then we go back to normal life. And maybe that's what it is. Because
Could be.
We're just waiting for the next thing to happen rather than investigating something.
Yeah.
Like in the last book, like Chamber of Secrets, we're actively trying to figure out, like, what the heck's going on.
Right.
Whereas in this one, we're just, like, waiting for the next thing to happen. And while we're waiting for the next thing to happen...
this other, like, regular life stuff happens.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's true. But we will get deep dive into that next time.
Yes.
We are going to be doing this in 2 parts.
Uh-huh.
But we're not going to do synopsis and discussion. We're going to do first part of the book, second part of the book.
Yes. This will work way better for the way that we like to discuss things.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I feel like this way will be more successful. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Expect that.
Indeed.
They will be differentiated. I assume we will label them part 1, part 2.
Yep.
So
that sounds like a solid plan to
foolproof. Me. So I guess our final thoughts now.
Yeah.
Would you like to go?
Yeah. So I am going to give this one a 3 out of 5, which probably seems wild compared to the other things I've also given like a 3 out of 5. Yeah. But in the context of what it is and who its audience is, I feel like it's a well-written book. Like I said, for the audience that it's made for. I like the descriptions of the scenes. It's not too much, but it gives you enough so that you feel like you're in the scene. The cliffhangers at the end of the chapters, like I said, I felt like they were more clever and weren't like totally cheap, but like they were well placed in a way to like keep you want to keep reading, which I thought was very clever. And then, like I said, I feel like the story itself is well written. There are definitely some like questions and threads that aren't tied up. But overall, I enjoyed it as like a little quick read. But I definitely think that it has the bones for a way more intricate and better story. But I do think what's there is a really good base if you wanted to turn that into a book, that's a little bit more mature, gives you a little bit more information, like where he gets the book from and different stuff like that we kind of talked about, like where's Stick's mom / Stanley's
Yeah,
significant other,
Right.
See the grandparents kind of learn their lesson and just different things that we kind of talked about throughout the discussion. There are definitely things hanging out there or that could have been dug into deeper. But again, I'm taking into account that this is made for younger kids, not young, but
younger.
Yeah. So, with that in mind, I give it a 3 out of 5. I think it's just a well-written book for its demographic.
Agreed. I gave this one a 2.5 out of 5. It was quick and nostalgic to read, for sure. I didn't read Goosebumps books when I was younger. A lot of people in my class did. I remember it being very popular on Library Day.
Yeah, I bet.
But I never read them when I was young, but I did watch the show, and I also watched Are You Afraid of the Dark? I was a religious watcher of Are You Afraid of the Dark? So it gives this vibe, right?
Yeah.
This is the kind of stories they told on that.
Yeah.
I think Are You Afraid of the Dark might have been a hair edgier, like a bit more sinister.
I think it was, and it definitely it scared me.
Some of those stories were legitimately scary.
Yes.
And this was a Nickelodeon show, so it was definitely marketed to kids.
Yeah.
So, but reading this definitely brought that nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
I could certainly tell this was written very specifically for children. I would have probably read this at age 8. Just thinking of the structure, the way that the sentences are put together, I feel like I was reading at this level, probably 8 years old for content, probably maybe a little younger for actual structure.
Yeah.
But 8 to 10, I would say, would be the target demographic for this book. Their style and structure are very appropriate for that sort of transition period when you're coming out of illustrated children's books and into chapter books. I think this is right there in that center. Kind of like the Junie B. Jones books. They're very short. They have a few chapters and very few illustrations. So it's weaning you into more mature books.
A more complex plot.
Yes. It's getting you used to a complex plot with multiple characters.
Yeah.
So I think it's perfect for that middle grade sort of area. Overall, I enjoyed reading it. I mean, it was about an hour and a half of my time.
Yeah.
So, it was fun. It is difficult to kind of assess it appropriately because the whole time you can tell, you could just tell this is a book written for kids.
Yes.
And when you're in your 30s, it's really hard not to think about it the way that you approach just reading in general.
Yeah.
So
yes.
when I started reading it, I had my pen and I was underlining things, but after a while, just a few pages, I was like, I have to just sit here and I just have to read this book because this is not a Dorian Gray.
Right.
I'm not looking for complex metaphors and very dense prose.
Right.
This is not what I'm doing here.
No.
So I had to almost untrain my brain so that I could just read it.
Right. And that's I kept saying I feel like there are good bones there, but yes, it's very obvious who it's written for.
Yes.
But
which is good.
Yeah.
Because when you're 8 years old, this is what is going to make sense to your brain.
Exactly. They're not wondering the extra things that we're wondering.
Right.
They're just phew. Glad we solved that. Wait, what do you mean? Why'd you bring the bear to life?
Yeah. That's right. I mean, they probably would pick up on the making fun of Stanley thing.
Yeah.
Making fun of Stanley, that's mean.
Exactly.
That's probably
they got out of it what they should have.
Yeah, that's as far as they're going to go on that instead of the explanation that I went on.
Right. While also, dealing with, something kind of spooky, kind of dipping your little toe into that arena, and also just like, you know, not only were the grandparents bullies, but then Jody was dealing with what she thought was
Sticks
a bully.
bullying her. Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of got two different sides of that as well.
Right. Yeah. And two different sort of reactions to the bullying. Like
Right.
Jody's standing up for herself, whereas Stanley is kind of turning the tables.
Right.
Which Jody kind of does too.
At least she tries to.
Yeah.
Right. And like you were saying, the Goosebumps show and Are You Afraid of the Dark, I definitely watched both. Mm-hmm. I was into all those, like, you know, Erie, Indiana, and So Weird. Like, I liked all those shows that were kind of like spooky, supernatural mystery, but like light for, you know, youths.
The youths.
The youths. There were actually another set of books, I believe similar to Goosebumps. They were called Shivers. And there's only one I specifically remember reading, but I remember it really scaring me, and it had to do with like farm animals coming to life.
Like Pet Cemetery?
Not like Pet Sematary. Or I guess I shouldn't say coming to life. Having sentience and like coming after the people on the farm.
Oh.
And I can't remember the name of it.
Animal Farm.
Yes, I was gonna say. So it was probably like kind of a kid version of that. But I mean, that one stuck with me for a long time. Like I haven't reread it or found it or anything. I think I found it on Etsy, but I can't remember the name of it. But I just remember as a kid, like that one, like I had a bad dream about it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that one got me. So
there's always like that one story that sticks out for you as a kid. Yeah. Like mine were from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Those were not for children.
Listen, those were absolutely not for children.
I am certain those are not for children.
This story,
but they're advertised for children, right?
Oh, yes. They're marketed as children's books, and they were in our elementary school library. Like, when I was in 4th and 5th grade, which I was 9 in 4th grade, 10 in 5th grade, that was, like, the rage. Like, there are 3 volumes of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Everyone's reading them. The illustrations are horrifying. The stories are scary. Like, to this day, I check my back seat before I get in my car. Yeah. Because of the high beam story from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Those ones are just too intense. Like they are not intended for the age group that they're intended for.
Also, one of the stories in there is like about the hook guy.
And they have a Scarecrow story in there too, I think.
Yes, they do. It's called Hank.
Yes,
and it's considered the scariest of the 3 volumes.
Right.
Because...
And I guess maybe we should have done that, but I just thought this would be
this one's much more fun.
Little nostalgic, you know.
Yeah, the Hank story is terrifying.
And I haven't read those books. I just saw the Guillermo del Toro. I don't know if it's produced or directed. I think it's maybe produced, but because I love Guillermo del Toro, Hellboy specifically, but and other stuff. I digress. That's not the important part. But yeah, the Hank part of that movie was like really horrifying. Like the straw like growing out of the guy's mouth and stuff. Like just oh.
Yeah, it's not good. I think it's even worse. I've not seen the movie that they made, but in that story, I'm pretty sure, like I haven't read it in a very long time, but I'm pretty sure that Hank the Scarecrow, when he comes to life, kills the 2 guys that created him and like takes their skin to wear. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, but that's how I remember it.
Wow. Yeah, that's even different than the movie. In the movie, spoiler alert, and I haven't watched it in a while, but I think there's this kid that's like a bully, and I can't remember if he's also being a jerk to the Scarecrow too, or he's like out there trying to mess with somebody, but the Scarecrow basically ends up getting cursed to also be a scarecrow. Like I said, like straw starts like growing out of him, but I also feel like they tried ripping him apart. I don't really know. Maybe I'm mixing up. There are lots of things with scarecrows where they're like ripping people apart, stuffing them full of hay, you know, like real graphic stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, like we said, that sort of inanimate object with a face that resembles a human. Yeah. There's a lot of scare potential in all those things.
For sure. But yeah, either way. This is definitely, I feel like, kid appropriate. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get too weird or scary.
No, it has some like heightened moments that could be a little scary. But most of them are explained away by, it's just my imagination.
It's just a broom.
I would say the worst one was probably the bad dream. Mm-hmm. Though getting thrown off a horse, that was pretty terrifying. Or being, like, actually grabbed at. But it was diffused very quickly. But
right. It's not, like, graphic. And I think obviously a kid 8, 9, 10 years old can handle it.
If they're looking for that, like, kind of slightly thrill scare, they're gonna get it, but it's not gonna be scarring.
Yeah, this is not gonna scar a child, I don't think. Now, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is gonna scar everyone.
Right.
We're all scarred from it. TikToks talk about, like, reason why millennials are the way that we are, and we're like the Harry Potter generation, whatever. I feel like more attention needs to be paid to the fact that all of us were reading Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark when we were in, like, 4th and 5th grade.
Yes.
Without parental supervision from the school library. This has affected us in some way, I'm sure.
The days were wild, man, because I know people that watched, like, The Exorcist at an age that would shock you, that was
me.
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies when I was, like, 9, 10 years old was I Know What You Did Last Summer.
What are you waiting for, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. But for a child, probably not. But I mean, that one's not even nearly as scary as I still to this day have not watched that movie to the end.
The original Exorcist? I've never seen it.
I was at a friend's house. They turned it on. I got to a certain point in the film, which I will not repeat. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. And I went downstairs and watched, I think it was 16 Candles or something like that.
Classic.
With the household's mom instead while they finished the movie upstairs.
Yeah.
So no judgment to them whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
It was too much for little me, and current me has also decided not to revisit.
Yeah. There's not really a specific reason I've never watched it. I just never have. And I think at this point, I just feel like it might be too late to watch it. Like, it's not going to affect me in any real way. I'm going to maybe just judge it because it's so old and then be like, oh, those special effects are shit.
I don't know. I feel like it would affect you a little.
Maybe. Well, maybe I'll freaking watch it. There's a new Possession movie with the 2 girls.
Yes, and it's called The Exorcist, and I guess it's supposed to take place... I don't remember if it's supposed to take place many years after the first, or if they're also taking the second into account, because the second also has the same girl from the first.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if they're ignoring the second one or not. But it does have, and this isn't a spoiler because it's in the trailer. It's got the mom from the first one in the new one. I don't know if she's like is a
consultation or whatever.
I'm not sure what her role is, but I've seen videos of people going through, because this year Universal Studios had that haunted house even before the movie was released, which part of me was like, isn't that going to give away spoilers? But the people that are going to that movie already kind of know what to expect, so I don't think it's going to spoil or deter anyone from watching it if that's what you want to experience. But just watching the people go through the haunted house, I was like, that's a no from me, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about exorcism movies anyway. I don't know. It's just not necessarily my thing. I like hauntings.
Right.
But possession is weird. I don't know. It always gives me the ick, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. It again falls into another category of just... It's just not something that's entertaining to me. Just like The Strangers.
Yeah.
It's horrifying and not entertaining to me. Possession films, especially ones like as graphic and serious as like The Exorcist, are not entertaining to me.
Yeah, it's just not... Yeah, it's not entertaining for me either. And it's... I don't know. Because it's not the like religious factor either. Because I can separate fiction from actual, like, religious faith. Like, I don't feel that weirdness. It just, I don't know.
They're normally just super gross.
They are really gross, generally.
the goos and the things and you know.
The contortions.
Yeah.
That always gives me the ick, too.
Yes.
So
it turns my stomach rather than, like, speeding up my heart a little, you know? So if it turns my stomach, I'm just not gonna watch it.
I'm fairly squeamish generally anyway, so that kind of stuff, like the gross and, like, the, like, torture gore also, I can't do.
Nope, I don't do those either.
None of that. I can't do that.
Hostel, no way, Jose.
Nah. Yeah, I can't do any of that shit. It's just because I feel like I can, like, feel it. You know? It makes me do that, like, hunch.
Yeah,
I'm like,
like you literally crunch your body up, like,
yeah, I just simply cannot. So.
Nope.
Yeah, so we gotta stay with the slashers, really, essentially. So, and Dakota he's not really into, like, the hauntings or the possession either.
Yeah.
If we're watching a scary movie, it's more so like a slasher.
Yeah. I get that.
You know.
Totally get that.
Yeah. Anyway, that was our, like, Halloween chat.
Yeah.
Okay, so please rate and review us.
Yes.
On whatever platform you use. I know Apple Podcasts and Spotify you can. Audible, I think you can. I don't know about any other platforms.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the other ones. But yes, please rate and review and send along your book recs. You know, let us know if you've read any of the books that we've covered. If you read the Goosebumps books when you were a kid. If you still enjoy reading them. If that's like a fun nostalgia read for you. You know, just let us know your thoughts on them.
Yeah, and let us know if you feel like you've been permanently scarred from reading scary stories to tell in the dark.
Right.
Like I imagine you probably are.
Right.
If you were in school in the late 90s, you were guaranteed scarred.
You feel the echo of it still.
It's in there.
Just over your shoulder.
Yeah, it's in there. You definitely check your back seat before you drive anywhere, especially in the dark.
Yes. Just as a reminder, our tunes and artwork and all that jazz are a collaboration of the WRB Crew, a.k.a.
us.
Me. Yeah. Me and Maddie and Whit.
Yeah. And until next time, leave your superstitions at home and read books.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.